Hi, in this video, we're going to take you through programming the solution to one of the 1.4 exercises, and I'm going to pick the owl. So the objective here is to assist some of you who are having any trouble figuring out how to use this starting point. That is, it's a coding window with no code, just two comments, right? It says place your code here. When we move the mouse around, we see all this information on the screen, and it's really important to understand how to use this. This process of mousing around and bringing up different information, such as the centers and widths and radiuses, it's called the inspector. So when the electronic textbook refers to the inspector, this is what they mean. So let's go through here sequentially. The beginning part of every program is an analysis of what do you have to do to create the output that's desired. So if we look at this graphical image, we should recognize the shapes that we've been studying so far in the Python graphics library. We should see some circles, some ovals, and some polygons. And if you're having trouble seeing that, that's the adjustment to this coding environment that you have to make. So let's start at the beginning. I see a background, and the background is the entire canvas, which has a starting point in the upper left corner of 0, 0, and I know the canvas is 400 units wide by 400 tall. And if I just click on one of these corner points, the inspector is telling me not only where I am in XY coordinates at the moment, but what the properties of that object are. So it's telling me that the color of this rectangle is pale green. So that's the entire background rectangle. It's starting at 0, 0, 400 wide, 400 tall, and has a fill color of pale green. Now here comes the tricky part. I know you see an owl face, but we need to break this down into recognizable shapes. So right now with my mouse, I am tracing out what I hope you all see as a circle. And I know that the name of this circle, according to the inspector, just put it anywhere on there, it's saddle brown, right? So all I need is the center for a circle and a radius. Well, I should be able to get that from putting my mouse on what I think is the center of the circle. So if I think that's the center, I don't think that's correct because there's no radius being shown in the inspector. I don't think that's the center of the circle. I think that right there is the center of this big upper circle. But notice that there's also a lower circle. And the circles are identical. The upper circle has a radius of 140, and the lower circle has a radius of 140. The only difference here is the location of their center. So the upper circle, according to the inspector, has a center of 200, 150, and a radius of 140. So if I go code that, this is going to go in the body now. By the way, just side note, I knew I was going to chop up my image into its recognizable pieces. So the face, the ears, the nose, the wings, and the eyes. So I've made comments to help separate the code so it's easy to find things. So here is the command to draw the circle for the body, the upper part, and then there's another one down here. Now what I would do if I were you is I would copy and paste this thing because we know that the next one is exactly the same, except we have to change the the center point to the coordinates 200, 250. That's that's the lower one. And the upper one is 200, 150. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 200, 250. So one is 250, the other one is 150. All right, that's the only difference between these two circles. Let's go take a look at what this gives us, just so we can get a sense of where we are in running this program. All right. Now, you might not look at that and say, hey, it's a good start, but it is, because that is the body part of the owl. All right, let's continue on in this fashion. Now we're looking at the tan face here. And of course, the eyes and the pupils are sitting on top of that beige face, but that's different. That's the eyes. So just the face, I think you can see that the circle here with the center at 130, 150, and another circle right here. That gives us the rounded sides of his face, right? And that circle is at 270, 150. They both have radiuses of 70. Again, you can see that in the upper right-hand corner in the inspector. And the color is tan. So, circle there, center, and circle center right there. So to write the code for the face, we're going to graph two circles. So the first circle is that center 130, 150. That's this guy right here, with a radius of 70 and a fill color of tan. Again, the other side of his face is exactly the same, so I'm just hitting Control-C to highlight and copy that, and Control-V to paste it. Now I need to change the numbers, because this circle is at 270, 150 instead of 130, 150. So this X coordinate just becomes 270. Everything else is the same. So I think this next part is perhaps the trickiest. What you're asked to see now is that this guy down here, it's not a circle. It's not a circle because it doesn't go up like the face. So you're asked to see that this is an oval. Now, how would you know that? Well, if I put my mouse at what I think is the center, if it was a circle, we would see a radius. But I don't see a radius, I see a size. So we need your eyes to convince you that this is an oval shape and that we're going to be programming an oval. So our oval is 260 wide by 130 tall. And its center is this point 200, 175. So when you write the code for an oval, the first two numbers are the starting point, the center, and the second two numbers are the width and the height. And the fill, of course, is the same tan. So let's go run this just to make sure this looks right. And we can always compare that to the solution. And it seems to be so far so good. All right, the next thing we can program, maybe the ears, since we're right there. The ears, if you look at them, are triangles. And they're kind of sitting on top of that upper circle. So we have polygons. Remember what polygons are. They're just a sequence of points, and the polygon is the shape that is closed by connecting those points with straight lines. So we're going to use the same color, and everything will look continuous, right? So what we'll need to do twice, one for each ear, is grab these points, and the order does not matter. So there's 3 points in this polygon, and there's going to be 3 sides. So clearly it's a triangle. So you'll need to copy these 3 point locations and fill it with the saddle brown color, and then do the same thing for these 3 points. Now the command here is polygon. And once again, just recognize I'm saving a little time here by cutting and pasting. So that's the 3 points, 275.30, 320.20, and 325.90. Now you can just copy and paste this line and just change these 3 numbers, and you'll be all set for the other ear. Just notice everything's the same, except now we're using the set of points on this side. I think you'd agree that this nose, I thought it was a mouth actually originally, but I guess it's a nose. Maybe owls don't have mouths. So the nose is a polygon, and it's got 4 corners. So I need to grab each of those 4 pairs of points and just separate them all by commas, x comma y, and so on. And then the polygon function will draw that for you, the closed shape, and we're going to use a fill color of goldenrod. So there's the nose, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4. Now, if you as an artist wanted to adjust the scale or the size of his nose, you can certainly play with these points and make it a different shape. You could stretch this out wider and so on. Again, that's up to you as the artist. So if you've made it this far through the video, I think you're sensing that, hey, you know what? This isn't really so hard. You're right. Just keep going. So we've got the wings here are both kind of kite shapes. They're polygons. So it's just like the nose. You just got to grab the 4 points, same color, goldenrod. So it would look something like that for one wing, and this for the other. Just different points. Well, it's always a good idea to kind of check your work as you go. I haven't for a while, so I'm going to click the Run button. And so far, things look really good. But if I had noticed that there was a problem, the objective would be to try to fix them as you go. So don't write all your code and then just run it for the first time when you're all done. There can be an avalanche of errors, and it would be sort of intimidating. Instead, a much better way to approach this is to solve one problem at a time. In other words, break your problem down into little problems. So the ears is a problem, the nose is a problem, and so on. So if each of those parts is working correctly, then the whole program works. So the last thing we have is these beady little eyes. I kind of like this. He's messing with his eyes. Ow, maybe that's the animation of the owl opening and closing his eyes. Anyway, we got two circles here, and they have the same center. The only thing that's different is the radius. So let's do the white parts of his eyes first. Center at 150/30. Students, what's the radius here? Now, this can be confusing. If you look at the inspector, it says the color is white and then black, and the radius is 35 and then 10. What's going on here is that there's two circles at that same place. There's the black one, which is clearly smaller, and the white one, which is clearly bigger. So the radius of the white one should match in the position, so it's radius of 35. So the first eye might look like that. So it's 150/130 with a radius of 35, and the fill is white. And if you want to copy and paste this thing, you can do that, and all we need to do is change the other guy to 270. I'm sorry, a center at 250/130. So this 1 becomes a 2. Everything else is the same. The Y values are the same, radius is the same, fill color is the same. Let's check it. There we go. All right, last part. We have two more little circles here, and those circles actually have the same centers. So I could start with that. I mean, I'm just trying to save some typing. But first of all, the fill color now is black, and their radiuses are much smaller. Radius is only, if you look at the inspector, the radius is just 10. So I'm going to change my 35 to a 10 on just those lower two, sorry. And I'm done. Well, at least I should be. Now, of course, the last thing you do in every program is check it for correctness. Make sure it's giving you exactly what you expect it to or what you want it to. So, mission accomplished here. Well done. Students, I submit that in Unit 1, all of the exercises and the projects, creative tasks that you're doing is like this. Now, the one thing that's different in the creative tasks, the project at the end of the unit, is that you have to design your own. So there's no template, there's no inspector. You would probably do well to draw this out, maybe on some graph paper or grid paper to get your XYs correct. And again, let your creativity rule the day.